What's up, guys, and welcome back to the NRL Fantasy Scout Podcast. I'm your host, Connor, and today I'm joined by Sandro. How are you going, Sandro?
Good man. Teamless Tuesday finally here. Long time coming. I'm keen to get into it.
It is, and we're also joined by Temes. How are you going?
Mate, excited, ready for the season. As you can see, Sandra and I, we're ready in our dogs' jerseys. We're keen for Sunday.
Yes, we've finally done it. The preseason is officially over, and we finally have some footy to look forward to this weekend. On today's podcast, we're reacting to the Vegas team lists and talking about these lineups and how they impact fantasy scoring. We'll be looking at who's become hot and who should drop out of your sides, discussing our expectations for each game before answering your questions. Remember, if you're enjoying these podcasts, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below any thoughts or feedback you may have for us. If you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. Every rating goes a long way, and we really appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to our premium service, where you can have access to all the projected points and minutes for each team, the link to our Buy Me a Coffee is in the episode description. We are running a preseason discount at the moment until this Sunday, so it runs out very shortly. If you're interested, sign up below, as I said. And if you want to ask any Team List Tuesday reaction questions, be sure to follow us on Instagram at NRL Fantasy Scout and look out for that story each Tuesday. Now, before we dive into any team lists, just briefly, how's your squad looking in terms of your Vegas players, and has your team changed much since the 4 p.m. drop? Sandro?
It's pretty settled. I have quite a few players playing in Vegas. Most of them are still there. Um, the one guy is Hamish Stewart. He wasn't in my team. Now he's back in, but I'm still a bit unsure. He's got to be benched, but now he's named as to start at lock, which is good, but I'm still concerned about his minutes a bit with the 4 forward bench. So it's like Stewart, McEwen, and Lukey, like they're my sort of toss ups. I'm not too sure on them. But other than that, I'm pretty set on everyone else.
And Artemis?
I'm gonna be honest, my team has still stayed the same from the video I put up on the weekend. I was waiting for clearing news to see what would happen there. Somehow it's been let off, which is good for my team, I guess. I'm bringing back in mentally. I know which players I'm going to bring back in, like Sandro. Stewart was out. Now I'm thinking to bring him back in. Just a bit worried about what's going to happen with Stewart. Lukey probably be bringing him in as well. And Dylan Brown, I'll be keeping him in my team. But that's pretty much the players for the moment. But we'll get into it more
Fair.
later on.
Yeah, my team hasn't changed too much as well, based on the Vegas lineups. It actually hasn't changed at all, but I'm also getting a bit of FOMO with some of these players now that the lineups have dropped. Especially on the Knights, they threw a lot of curveballs, but we'll see how it looks before Sunday. All right, and with that, let's jump into the lineup. We open the round with the Knights vs Cowboys at 1:15 on Sunday. Now, as I said, there was a lot of uncertainty with both of these teams throughout the preseason and trials, how they were going to line up, and quite a few bombshells dropped when the team lists dropped today. We'll start off with the Knights. What caught your eye the most, Artemis?
There were two. The main one was Sharp being named a six, Sandon moving to the bench. It was pretty much from all the preseason news. It was just talk that it was Sandon and Brown, and then Sharp would probably be on the wing. But it looks like that's not the case. But another one was Mooney, because we saw earlier during the day there was news that he'd be moving to the bench, but he's been named. I mean, there is still possibility that he might start off the bench closer to, or it's an hour and a half now before kickoff
Yeah.
when they release team lists. So maybe it'll be a last minute change. Who knows? But those were the two for me. Apart from that, also, Knights. Yeah, sorry, stick with Knights for the moment.
Yeah, was okay. That was a good starting point. So Sharp at 6 and Sandon at 14. Sandro, how will that affect the spine scoring? Because three, we've got Ponga, Sharp, and Brown. Who's going to do the kicking in game? will Sandon be injected into the game at all? If so, will it be at hooker? Does Crosland become an 80-minute player? Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah. Before we get into it, I want to say what a roller coaster. All the reports out of Newcastle this preseason. So many
Yeah.
conflicting things. So many arguments about who's going to play where. I'm just
Yeah.
glad it's over, to be honest.
Well,
But anyway,
not for the we still got another how many more days?
yeah, true. It could still change between now
Yeah.
and Sunday. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, Sharp in the halves with Brown. Probably I'd say it's good for Brown. Um, we saw he kicked in most of in the trial matches. He kicked predominantly, even with Sandon. But I think Sharp is, as we've seen in the past, he doesn't kick at all really. So it should be good for Brown's base. Um, he's going to play on the right, which I don't love. He'd be much better for attacking purposes on the left, I think. But it's still okay. Um, in terms of the rotations, yeah, Sandon 14, I expect him to come on at hooker. Him and Crossan like share that role a bit, and then also Crossan play a bit of lock as well. So that's sort of how I see it playing out. Did I cover everything?
I've got a
Ponga,
question.
you know,
Yes,
go.
I was gonna
Oh,
ask
Ponga.
Ponga. Ponga, what do you
Oh,
reckon with him
the halves.
or the
I,
kicking?
lo- I I love the kick meters for Ponga. Yeah, Brown, he'll be the main kicker, but he's not
Yeah,
a noted kicker, and like I said, Sharp doesn't kick at all. So I think Ponga will step in quite a bit with kick meters. If I had to guess, maybe like 150 to 200 a game, something like that. But I actually quite like Ponga now, and also with San on the bench, the goal kicking looks much more promising. That's another factor.
that's true.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm just a bit worried with Ponga because he's got that was coming off that major foot injury. I don't know if he's going to be eased with the kick meters and or early on if he's going to take the sort of role of kicking, but in the attacking when they're on like the 20-meter line, 10-meter line, if he'll do a lot more short kicks, maybe he'll take over in that section. I don't know, but I feel Brown will do the majority of the kicking, like you said, goal kicking. I mean, it looks like Ponga will take it based off the lineup. But with Sandon, do you reckon he will come on in the first half, or do you reckon he'll come on in the second half and just finish off if he was to replace Crossland?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't want to review everyone's minutes because Australia
Yeah,
Premium members,
yeah, that's
but
true. That's true.
um, yeah, I think like him and Crosby will be pretty even in their split at hooker, and like I said, Crosby will play a bit of lock as well. So I don't know what time of the game he'll come on. It's hard to say. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And now, Artemis, you owned Fletcher Sharp last year, and we know on the left side it tends to fire a lot more with Sharp, Lucas, and Ponga all there. So is Sharp one to look at, or even someone like a Bradman Best or Marju? Do they become options now for your squads?
potentially. I mean, I haven't really looked into it much because the majority of the news was that Sharp wouldn't be in the halves. So now knowing he's named at six, does he also keep the six for the rest of the season? And does Holbrook play games and keep switching? I don't know. But I mean, I did raise the question actually, but it got shut down. But I think I need to do more research into that. At the moment, probably not. Best might be an option, but when I was looking at his scores when we did the center podcast, his scores were pretty inconsistent, even with Sharp playing on that edge. So I don't know. I think I'd stay away from the Newcastle centers and wing fullbacks for the moment. Probably the only player would be Brown and McEwen actually as
Well,
well.
that's a good segue into the next bit. Moving over to the right side of the field, we've got McEwen playing outside Brown. Would that help his scoring? But also, there's not a clear edge on the bench. We know it was leaked that Thomas Kant will probably take minutes off him, but he's also a middle as well, so that's a bit skeptical. What are the chances that McEwen plays 80 Sandro, and is he worth the price?
Like I alluded to before, I'm really like on the fence about McEwen. I He might play 80 like some weeks, but I don't think he'll be consistent. I think Thomas Kant will share some minutes at least to start off with anyway. Um, Being next to Dylan Brown, could be a good thing. Brown should feed him quite well. So for McEwen, like the big question here is like how much value does he actually have? I think he definitely has value, but I'm just not quite sure how much and whether it's worthwhile. Obviously, we've lost, or we're likely to lose Lassard. He's an option. So McEwen comes back into the fray a bit, but then like Josh Patson is a lock in everyone's team. So yeah, there's a few question marks for me still.
Yeah, no, I'm the same with Sandra. I think I've actually taken him out of my team from memory because I had him originally. I think I might have taken him out. Um, but yeah, I'm still tossing up. There's definitely a value there, as Sandra said, but I'm still not sure. It'll be a last minute decision, definitely, with McEwen, but probably even Lukey, but we'll see.
And the last point on the Knights. So now there is a six-man bench. Is there a world where Sandon Smith doesn't come on the field and instead they play Manu Leilua and run with four forwards instead of using that utility player? And in that world, is Crosland an 80-minute player? What are your thoughts, Andrew?
I'd say it's highly unlikely. I don't think they signed Sandon to play 0 minutes on the bench. So yeah, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he can play half at some point, mainly because I did draft him the other day as well as Metcalf. So fingers crossed that Sandon can play more minutes. Anyways, moving on to the Cowboys, there were a couple of toss ups here, but this team actually fell into place better with our expectations and what everyone wanted. The big thing is Chester is named at centre as well as Purdue, and Clifford is in the halves. How does that affect all the spine scoring and all the backs, Artemis?
Um, to be honest, probably Sandra's got a much better answer than me for this question. But I think Clifford will be doing a lot more kicking now. Um, Originally, if it was Purgie in the halves, then Purgie's not a kicker, um, and Dylan will be doing it. But now that Clifford's in, I think probably for the shape of their team, I think Clifford in the halves is much better than Purgie. I know Purgie's still young, hasn't had time, but in center, we all know he had a pretty good start to the season last year. He was averaging much better fantasy wise at center than he was at half. But yeah, I think Sandro can probably explain more about that or go into more detail about that question.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think Purdue at center is actually probably better for his fantasy scoring. Um, he didn't score that well in the halves last year. Um, even though people maybe thought he would score better going to the halves, but he actually did better at center, which is surprising. Um, I think the team looks in better shape also with Clifford and Dean in the halves. So it could also maybe benefit Drinkwater. I think gives him a bit more stability with like more experienced halves. That's how I sort of see it. At the same time, maybe with Clifford in the halves, Drinkwater could get less kick meters. That's another potential impact.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that drink water point, you're right with the kick meters, but just to add, I'd rather him, I'd rather the Cowboys continue on from last year because if Purdue was starting halves, then they'd have to get used to those combos. Whereas this year they can start the year off firing as they go. So he should get those attacking stats we expect because there's no new real system or duos to mesh with, which is good. Now, another point about the backs, Chester, as I mentioned, did get the start. However, as we know, Purgie is a left centre, meaning Chester is on the right. Because Chester is a left-sided player from his junior time, how certain are we that he keeps his spot on the right, Sandro, when Labour comes back?
I'm not certain at all, to be honest. There is Laybut, and there's also Vilea, who's injured, and we don't really have a time frame on him. So there's two players coming back, and I don't think Purdue's going to get dropped or moved to the halves after their decision now. So Chester's job security really isn't great. Um, yeah, at the same time, I'm still somewhat prepared to take a risk on him for my team. It's because not many center options. But yeah, his job security isn't the best.
Fair.
He's
So,
only 250k as well, so you can definitely take a risk on him.
all
But
right, let
yeah,
me play devil's advocate, Artemis. So,
go
would
for
you
it.
punt on Chester this week, or do we take the gamble and wait for a basement center next week, like a Faimani, but because he's not added to the game, we don't actually know if he'll be a center? What would you rather do?
Probably rather take the gamble on Chester, to be honest. I'd rather know before. I'd rather not pick someone. I know it's only 250,000, and maybe Faimani might be probably 230, but still, I'd rather not take that risk.
I'm praying they add Fayamadi in this week and not next week.
I doubt it.
I I heard through Talking League and other podcasts they posted something about Fayamadi getting added soon. So like I really hope he gets added this week so there's no confusion. But yeah, it's really hard to know. He might not even get center position.
That too.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, big gamble. Now, moving on to the forwards, to everyone's happiness, Lukey and McIntyre start in the edges, but there is Bateman and Kai O'Donnell both listed on the bench. So, are any of those two at threat of minutes? Who's most likely to drop out of the squad? Or has Bateman just dropped out of the squad for good? What are your thoughts, Sandro?
Talk about this for a while. There's a lot of moving parts here. Nuki and McIntyre, like neither are 80-minute players in the back row in my eye. Um, and yeah, I don't have either of them playing the full 80. I think Kai O'Donnell will be used to cover at least one of the edges, maybe both, and then there's John Bateman as well. And then there's also Bateman. He'll be carrying an injury, that's why he's on the bench, but he could easily start at some point. And then there's the Jeremiah Nanai thing to throw into the equation. I still think at full strength, Nanai and Bateman are probably the starting edges. So Lukey, his job security isn't great. Um,
Right.
yeah,
So, who's more likely to drop out first, Lukey or McIntyre for Bateman, Artemis?
It kind of depends on what side they're playing on as well, because in the trials, I think we mentioned the vacant spot was Nanai's spot on the left, and McIntyre's been starting there, and Nuki's been on the right. So if Bateman was to come in, you'd think he'd move to the right, and that will force Nuki out. But at the same time, McIntyre can play in the middle as well. So yeah, it's hard to tell, but I'd say probably. I mean, it seems like Luki would be the one to make way, or Bateman.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Lukey will play mainly because Lukey's only purpose is edge, whereas McIntyre, as you said, can play anywhere. So I feel like McIntyre would actually be more valuable on the bench, whereas if you just carry an edge player on the bench, but he can only come on for an edge, that's not as
You,
ideal. Especially in the you don't want to burn up all your four subs straight away.
yeah. We've
But
also got as well. We've got Kyle Donnell on the bench too. So if Luki
true,
drops out, he will be getting the minutes out of Kyle Donnell and Luki.
exactly. That's
I,
good.
I I agree with you, Connor, but why wouldn't they be opposite sides then if McIntyre's going to drop out
Yeah,
for Bateman? Like, that's how I see it. Like Lukey's on
Maybe
the right, Bateman's a right-sided player. Yeah,
maybe he's less skilled at McIntyre's less skilled at the right side. Who knows? I don't know.
maybe.
I just think I like Lukey. Whilst there is big risk, again, he's 300k compared to all these other mid-range edges who are 100k more. It is very hard to move a player up like that, personally. But
yeah.
speaking of the bench, another big mention, Sony Luke has made the side, listed at 14. How does that affect our stance on Marnie, Artemis?
I still think Miney will get majority of the minutes.
Full
Not
80?
too sure. Hey,
Full 80?
see, that's what I'm not sure about, because I don't know. He's named at 14, but where the Cowboys go with the four middle bench, well, they got two edges on the bench. No, sorry, Bateman's not. Yeah, he's there. But they might run with a four forward pack. But if they don't, and they run with a three, then definitely Sonny Luke. If he does play, he'll probably take 20 minutes, I reckon, off Marnie. But there is a potential where he gets the full 80 and Sonny Luke's only there just for cover.
Yeah. We put 90 for 80 in our expected minutes post. And I'll just explain why a bit. Like, a six-man bench now, Cowboys, none of their forwards are really big minute players. Like we said, both their edges we think are unlikely to play 80. Owen Hess, Tamalolo, they're not big minute players. Like Ruben Cotter's the biggest minute, and he probably only play 60 minutes or so. And then on their bench, they got Griffin Neem and John Bateman, like consistent first graders in the 18 and 19 spots. I just don't see neither of them being used. So I don't think Luke is really required. I think they'll go with a four forward bench. But that's just my opinion. I think it sort of makes sense in my head.
Yeah, but off that, the only thing is, for some reason, I think it will differ each week, and especially because Todd Payton, it's been said that I think in the new restructure of their CEO and stuff, where they, you know, gutted the club, got in new people, he's been given the first 10 games, so he could change things up very quickly to try and save his job. But we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
that wraps up the
Sorry, before
first.
we move
Oh,
on.
go on.
Yeah, I think it'll be different on a week to week basis, but for the most part, I think Marnie will play the full 80. But yeah,
So with that, is he in your team, or
yeah,
would you be considering him?
he's in my team. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Not in mine. Anyway, that wraps up the first game. Now, before we move on to second Vegas game, I want a buy who you think people should pick up, someone who they should wait a week on, and someone who people should drop. Artemis.
I think Dylan Brown, definitely,
Which one?
with bias, sorry.
Yep.
Hold Mooney, only because I mean, he's been named to start, but there was reports that he might move to the bench, so it might be a last minute change, who knows. One to watch who probably will be a buy is Marnie, and I feel Chester is a sell. It's just too much uncertainty, and compared to all the other players, probably Chester more than Lukey.
There, Sandro.
I don't really know how to answer this, to be honest. I don't think anyone's a sell necessarily.
Yeah,
Like, I'd say Trey Mooney's the best buy, and then I don't really have a watch or a hold or anything, but like, I say question marks over Lukey and McEwen. Yeah,
And who's someone that you think people should just, a highly owned player that should be dropped?
I don't have one. I don't think anyone's a sell or dropped or anything.
Fair enough. Well,
with
my
that, can I
list,
change everything I just said? Because I
no.
was the same with Connor. I'm
Yeah,
not Connor with Sandra.
well, I just want to say
Sorry.
that the people I wrote down coincidentally matched the people Artemis wrote down,
Okay.
and I actually wrote it down first. So,
I didn't
but
even actually see it. I started writing Cowboys. Who was it? Someone
hey,
else.
yeah, you're right, Hamish
Yeah,
Stewart. Anyway,
yeah, Hamish
but
Stewart.
yeah, the one I'd sell on is Chester, mainly because, as I said, he's a left-sided player, but he's playing on the right. I don't think he will hold that spot for long, and his winger scoring isn't even that good to generate cash early for his limited rounds he'll play. So, unlike a Lukey, but that's my opinion. Now, we're going into the second game. We'll start with both of your team, the Bulldogs. This team, there's not too many fantasy relevant options this year. Has anything changed since 4 p.m. Sandro? Has anyone now become relevant?
No, it's pretty much as we expected. The 1 to 17 is exactly as we picked. So we're too many surprises there. I guess Sam Hughes starting was somewhat in contention, but yeah, he's starting for Leo Thompson who's injured. When I look at the Bulldogs team, there's not much interest from me. Um, I did previously like Kiraz, but a bit off him from his injury. Bailey Hayward is the only one I'd say that I'm somewhat considering, but at the same time, I still don't love him. Um, Kurt Mann, Sean O'Sullivan, Jake Turpin, all capable of taking minutes off him, and he's also not the best scorer as we've seen in the past. I don't mind Hayward, but I just think there's better options. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially with me, I was big on Haywood at the beginning, but now I don't see him making my team at all. But Carraz as well was another one we're big on, but it's smaller field round one. He's got the bye round two, and I feel he'll be scoring around what he's priced at. So I don't really feel there's much value there with the dogs and with
Yeah.
any other players really.
I think I have Hayward in my team. He hasn't left, and I'm not going for any other hooker, mainly because he's very cheap. So if he goes wrong, there's not too much money lost. Whereas if a Reed Marnie goes wrong, you could be in very big trouble. But one final question before we move on, because you drafted him so high, Artemis, is Galvin, is there any relevance there in Classic?
I
Because
knew this
he
was
did
coming
make
up.
the third round.
It was because there were no halves left, and I was 16th or 15th pick. I
I
was
thought
second
Atkinson
last.
was left.
Yeah, I didn't realize I didn't see Atkinson. Otherwise, I would have got Atkinson. But no,
So it's not
not.
the year of Galvin? No 50-point average?
I don't think so. I not at 7.
That's fair. I don't think the dogs are making B8, but that's out. You can check out our ladder predictions when they come out. Anyway, let's go into the more relevant fantasy team of the two. We've got the Dragons, and the first thing to note is David Fail, highly owned, did make the squad, and Val Holmes starts. Is Val Holmes an option? Because everyone's been talking Fail, but does Holmes become a decent keeper pod, Sandro?
Well, it's interesting because today we found out that Holmes is switching to right center after playing left. Um, I don't mind him for like draft, but the classic, I'm not sure there's too much value there. Like playing on the right, maybe it's better with I think Atkinson's the right half, so could be better for him. But I wouldn't be gambling on him in classic.
Yeah, no, I didn't even. I was surprised he was even an option when you put that down for us to talk about.
He's,
So
he's got he's got goal kicking, Dragon's new attack with Atkinson, maybe. No,
What attack?
potentially, but
they're gonna beat the Bulldogs on the weekend, so we'll see the attack on
such a
Sunday.
hater this bloke.
But speaking about the Dragons attack, we've got someone of value. Setu 2 does make the starting squad. Is he a must-have in your team, Artemis?
Yeah, and if you're one of the highly owned or the people that have got Farley, just an easy switch to get set to 2. And I think really it's his position to lose unless there's an injury. Look, he's one over Sloan. I don't see Sloan coming back into the team unless there's only an injury. So yeah,
Yeah, I really like to. He's like one of the only cheapies, the cheap wing fullbacks that has job security.
yeah,
So like he's pretty simple pick, I think.
Yeah, it is unfortunate Macassini has the bye in first round because it would have made it very easy for everyone, but that's,
I'll get both, mate.
well, yeah, but you need a third because Macassini's not playing this week. So
Yes, that's
that's
true.
where the struggle is. Now, another not bombshell, but interesting. So Flanagan and Atkinson, that was per normal. Cook at the 9. There is a utility player on the bench in King Tonga. Is there a world where he comes on for Flanagan if Dragons are doing bad, or does he come on for Cook, move into the halves, and Flanagan goes to hooker? Sandro, does that exist in any world?
It's possible, um, but I don't think it'll happen unless Dragons are really desperate. But at the same time, I don't really see Shane Flanagan dropping his son. Even if he has a shocker, like you probably won't get hooked.
but he
And
could
King
move
Tonga
to
is
hooker though. He might not
Flanagan.
necessarily. Yeah, he might not necessarily get hooked from the game. He might move to hooker. But I'm with you. I'm
He
with you. I
could,
don't see.
but I think it's unlikely. Like
Yeah, same.
Cook can play 80, so I don't see why it happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I want to raise a question because Atkinson seems like a good option based off the trial where Flanagan had no kick meters. If Flanagan starts kicking, is Atkinson a sell, or would you be off him?
Well, yeah, but we have to go off the sample size we have, and Flanagan didn't kick at all.
True.
I know it's a small sample size, whatever, but
Yeah.
like yeah,
Well,
if he starts kicking more, then Atkinson could be a sell. But I really
Yeah.
like him to start off with.
yeah. Well, the whole reason JCC made his account was to tell Flanagan that he can't kick. So I doubt that he's going to continue kicking, you know, with all the hate. Anyways, moving on. So if King Tongia's not playing, that means it looks like Dragons are going to run a 4-forward bench. So how are all the minutes going to be distributed, and what does it mean for fantasy assets like Toby Couchman, Ryan Couchman, Hamish Stewart, who's now starting when it wasn't expected he would, and also Luciano Leilua? Unwrap it, Sandro.
So the 4 forward bench obviously makes all the options like Couchman and Stewart slightly worse. But Little's supposed to be back in round 2, so that will mean Cook plays less minutes and there's more minutes to go around for the forwards. So whilst like Couchman and Stewart maybe look slightly worse this week, I think from round 2 onwards they'll be fine and they're still really good options. We had Couchman at 60 minutes in preseason. We brought it down to 55 a bit just to be a bit more conservative. But yeah, I really like Couchman. He's in my team. He hasn't left for a long time. Stewart, there's a bit more risk. We saw how much Saleh started lock in preseason. So I do have them both splitting minutes a lock. And we have Stewart for 45 minutes, I think, which is still enough, but yeah, I'm a bit undecided on him. Like sort of similar with McEwen. Like there's value there, but I don't know how much. Um, Ryan Couchman, I don't mind him. I think he'll play a bit of the hybrid middle edge role, spelling Leilua for a bit.
Mm,
Leilua is
Well,
also an interesting option, but I'll stop now.
no. I just wanted to. So you mentioned Ryan Couchman, but also next week Little's coming back. Who
Yeah.
on the 4-forward bench do you expect to drop for Little to come in?
Surely Blake Laurie, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd say Laurie or Saleh. I think Couchman and Kerr are pretty safe.
Yeah.
fair.
But with with Little coming back, this is regarding Hamish Stewart. So Little and Cook they'll share some minutes, or Little will get some minutes of Cook. Does Cook move to lock,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that
It'll be
affects
same as last
Stewart?
year, I imagine.
Yeah, again.
So yeah,
Mm,
So
I think Stewart's probably more impacted by
yeah,
the
definitely.
little thing, whereas Couchman probably benefits a bit.
It's only for the first round where it benefits Stewart a little bit.
fair.
Yeah,
And
it's hard.
it is. And this is a cross-game question, but would you rather Luciano Leilua or McEwen at that 400k edge price point, Artemis?
McEwen, because last year there was a lot of chopping and changing with their edges. I know they had a few injuries, but there was a lot of changing. Leilua was starting and then moved to the bench, and I feel there's more certainty with McEwen long term rather than Leilua. But I don't know, maybe Sandra's got a different opinion to me.
I'm pretty split. Maybe lean to Leilua actually slightly, but
Yeah,
they're both there's both uncertainty around both of them.
yeah,
Mm,
I sort of like Leilua's, I don't know, attacking prowess, I guess. Like when he's on, he
see,
loves to
he's on.
fend and offload, tackle bust,
Yeah,
whatever.
the Dragons
But
attack. See, it's good. It's
well, he's
gonna,
next to Flanagan now, isn't he? Oh no, I don't like him anymore.
yeah, it's honestly amazing how Luciano keeps making the squad. Um, he's another one of Flano's favourites, like Alan Gar, who's a very talented youngster, but lo and behold, Luciano, he's in the best shape of his life and he's in the starting squad, so he's a decent pun option for your teams.
Before you move on, Connor, I got a question with Ryan Couchman.
Yes.
Going forward, do you guys think he'll be getting a decent amount of minutes coming off the bench? And if he does he become an option where you just have him in your team as just a slow cash burner and cash maker?
Well, I have him in my side, but that
Yeah.
could be just due to the fact that um, because my squad is very gun cow focused, so I
Yeah.
kind of need that extra 250 player. But that being said, I think the biggest threat to Ryan Couchman is Dylan Egan because I think he's going to play that role Dylan Egan played at the start of last year, where he came off the bench, played a bit on the edge, but he also played a bit in the middles because the other props outside his brother Toby are, Emre Gula, Blake Laurie. They're not Hame Saleh if he plays prop. They're not the biggest minute players, so I do expect him to play there, which does help his PPM, and I do think he will get that 10 points of value. The best thing as well is that the fact he's playing in Vegas on a smaller field, if he scores well this week, it's very good because it drops his break even by quite a bit, and it's a good start to the year. So if his scoring does slow a bit further down the line, he has that nice platform to still make that 150k anyway. Anything to add,
Yeah.
Sandro?
Yeah, I agree. I like Couchman a lot. I think his minutes are pretty safe. I'd say he's probably the first forward, like the main forward off the bench.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Dylan Egan's back in like round 10 or so there's plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Yeah.
Couch will probably be a slow burn, like Artemis said, but he'll make money for sure.
And he's got the Couchman last name, meaning he's wearing his footy boots at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, ready to go to training tomorrow. He's actually in Vegas, so he's probably training right now. But regardless, he's a hard worker. But that wraps up the first team list Tuesday. Now, before we dive into our Q&A, again, who's one to buy, hold, one to watch, and sell from this game, Sandro?
Um, I'd say Setu 2, hold Toby Couchman. A lot of people are off him for some reason. He's still a great option. Sell David Farley, I guess. He's pretty highly owned still.
I guess one to watch would be Atkinson for me personally.
Oh, I'm
'Cause
not watching him. He's in my team, but yeah.
I'm still not convinced with the kick meters.
No, that's
Uh,
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, who else would you buy and sell,
Uh,
Artemis?
exactly the same as Sandra. The only one. You guys are high on Atkinson, but I'm high on him, but I'm just worried.
Yeah,
Dylan Brown's better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I
If you have
agree
to
with that.
choose, but I have both anyway. But
As I said in my preseason video, the Q&A, I was surprised, but Dylan Brown somehow clears Atkinson on every metric. But regardless, my buy would be Atkinson because he's going to get a lot of kick meters. Hold Toby Couchman. Don't know where these people saying fade are coming from. He's still a great option, especially with Little back next week in Vegas. One to watch, Luciano Leilua, because we don't know what's going to happen with playing outside Flanagan. He might play the short ball every time, which helps Leilua, but it's still up in the air what happens. And I'd actually sell Hamish Stewart because whilst he is getting 45 minutes, I don't think that's enough for his mid 400k price point. That's just me personally. Like there is a bit of value there, but with my mid 400 players, I want them to score 50, and I don't think he has a chance to do that in 45 minutes. And now we're going to be answering your questions. Just a reminder, if you want to ask a question, be sure to follow our Instagram page at NRL Fantasy Scout and look out for the story each Tuesday afternoon after team list drop. Be sure to get in your questions by 6 p.m. as that's roughly when I'll write them all down on our run sheet. So if you want it answered, answer before 6 p.m. Without further ado, first question for you, Sandro. Is Hamish Stewart a must have now because he's starting?
no, he's not a must-have. He's still an okay option now that he's starting a lock, but I wouldn't label him a must-have. No.
Just not as much value as what we thought initially.
Mm, I still don't rate him. Whilst he's starting this week, I think Little next week will take minutes off that lock, as we saw towards the end of last year, and I think that's what the Dragons will be rolling with. So, as
I
a
mean,
mid,
Cook, right? Not
Yeah,
not Cook.
cool.
well, Cook, Little, regardless, one of them, right?
Yeah, just making sure.
Yeah, but yeah, as a mid 400k player, priced at 37 roughly. I don't have it up exactly, but I know that's roughly the price point. You really do need them getting at least 45 points per week for that 10 points of value that you want. And I don't think it's sustainable with Hamish Stewart.
He's priced at
Continuing,
35, I think. But yeah.
still checks out. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
next question for you, Artemis. Still going on with the Dragons. Is Toby Couchman a fade based on their 4 forward bench?
No, definitely not. I mean, he's like we said earlier, his minutes will be slightly impacted round one, but round two onwards, he's getting his minutes back, and he's definite keep.
Even, yeah, his break even is only 54 points, so in 55 minutes he should still clear that. Vegas on a smaller field should boost his scoring a bit, so it'll average out in the end.
Yeah,
Sandro, is Mooney still a hold if he gets dropped to the bench at last minute?
Even if he does, his PPM is so elite. Like he'll score well. Even if he plays like 45 minutes, he's still value. If he gets like to like 40 or below, then it's a bit murky, I guess. But yeah, he's definitely a hold. Um, if he gets benched, I'd still hold him. Like there's not really too many big minute forwards at the Knights pack, so he should be fine.
And he's one of the best options at that price point, just across all positions. Now, Artemis, is Ponga a great wing fullback to start with, especially if he's kicking again?
I don't think so. I still think there's better players, slightly more expensive that have value there and that are cheaper as well. It does benefit Ponga a lot, especially with Smith being on the bench, and he might uh, be doing a lot of general play kicking as well. But I still feel there's better wing fullback options you can go with.
Now, Sandro, is Cook a good starting option? If he's playing 80 the first week, is that sustainable enough where he'll score well enough even when Little returns?
If Little was out for longer, then I wouldn't plan Cook. But like we said, Little's meant to be back in round two, so Cook will probably get 80 minutes this week, and then drop down to 65 or whatever from next week onwards, which wouldn't be enough value, I don't think. So I wouldn't go with him.
Mm. And how does Cowboys bench affect Lukey? And is he good enough to start with Artemis at his price point?
I think for round one he is, but after round or from round two onwards, probably not. Only because Bateman is supposedly injured, but he might still get minutes. So we feel Kyle Donner will probably be taking minutes off both edges, but I think he'll definitely be getting a decent amount of
So
minutes
would
for
you
round
start
one.
with Lukey? Yes or no?
I was going to get to that, but for the moment, yes, but still thinking about it.
Fair enough. Is Marnie still a good option for our sides with Sony Luke on the bench, Sandro?
He is. We already talked about it. Uh, I personally don't think Luke will take any meaningful minutes from Marnie. Uh, Even though he's named at 14, I wouldn't read too much into the numbering of the bench. There's a six-man bench, and yeah.
Very true. It will be interesting to see it play out for the first week, though. Now, we've clearly got a Dogs fan because someone's asked, are Galvin and Josh Curran good fantasy options? Artemis, what are your thoughts?
Alvin is for draft, definitely. That's why I picked him third.
Round
But
one, pick him first.
but nah, for fantasy, unfortunately not. Galvin not at 7. Curran, he's coming off the bench, and unfortunately, I don't know why, but he hasn't been playing pretty well to what he normally is capable of. So definitely both. not good options at all.
True. And Curran's off to the Bears anyway, and we know how the Bulldogs treat outgoing players. He'll be dropped by mid-season. Thanks, Gus.
Yes.
And to round off the questions, Sandro, should we captain and vice-captain Vegas players over guns like Haas and Cleary? If so, who are the best options?
I always like to captain and vice captain Vegas players just for that flexibility. So as we know, your captain and vice captain will get locked in. So if you say you captain Cleary or Haas, for example, and they play the following week and they get injured in training or something, then they're locked into your team and you can't sell them or anything. So I always prefer to captain and vice captain a Vegas player. Um, this year there's no like really elite options, I guess. Like we've talked about Couchman a bit. He's my favorite pick for captain, but you'd still expect Cleary and Haas and other options to score better than him. So it's sort of like that trade off, like how much risk you're willing to take. Um, are you willing to captain Cleary or Haas and run the risk that they might be a late out? Yeah, that's how I sort of see it. But currently, Toby Couchman is my captain, and Trey Moody is my vice captain.
Nice.
Subject to change.
Yeah,
Fair.
I with I'll give my input. I think with Sandra's approach, definitely at least one of them, captain or vice captain, a Vegas player. I was set on Couchman, but I feel like I'm probably going to give him Vice. At the moment, I've got Cleary in my team only. I don't have House, but that might change. But I feel definitely Vice probably go onto Toby, and I'll captain Cleary. But between Cleary and House, you can't really, not really missing out on much. They'll both
True.
probably get you the same amount of points. But the only player really for Vegas to captain is Couchman.
True. Well, you know what? Cleary, he's on a very lucky streak, so he'll probably continue that into the season. The fact that he's playing round one. To be fair, I think it was a soft challenge anyway, but based on how it all shakes out, we'll see. We'll see. But that wraps up the podcast for Vegas. Quickly before we go, who are you looking at for your teams from these fixtures now after talking about it? Artemis?
Who am I looking at? The players I really like are pretty much set in my team. It's more
Yep.
so the players I'm getting rid of, which will be Stewart. I mean, I have brought him back in mentally, but I'm going to take him back out. But yeah, other than that, well, probably Marnie actually, because I've got Grant at the moment and I'm leaning more towards Marnie. But out of all the other players, maybe Lukey as well, but we'll see.
Lukey in or out?
Yeah.
Fair. Sandro?
Should I just list all my players I have from Vegas?
Go if you want, go for it.
All right. So I have 8 Vegas players. Yeah. Now Reed Marnie, Trey Mooney, Toby Couchman, Ryan Couchman, Dylan Brown, Daniel Atkinson, Tom Chester, and Setu Tu are all in my team.
Yeah.
Any subject to
Any
change?
Uh, Probably Chester and Ryan Couchman are the only ones I'd get rid of at this stage.
would you look at any of those mid-range edges, like a McEwen or Luch?
Probably not. I think, say, for my team structure, like Caleb Lukey would be most likely to enter my team. But I just can't quite fit in McEwen or Leilua at this stage.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
Stewart, I don't love either.
True. Yeah, me, I'm the same. I have both the Couchmans. I'm set on both of them. Dylan Brown, I'm pretty set on him, and Setu too. My other players, like I still have Hayward because I've gone really cheap at hooker, or Mooney, I'm set on as well. But Chester, it's a risk, and I don't really like it, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, I hope this episode helps you all with your team decisions heading into the start of the NRL season. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the podcast. We love and appreciate all your support and feedback, so if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, or rate it 5 stars depending on the platform you're listening to on. And please leave any feedback in the comments on the format of these regular season podcasts. We'll be doing this format going forward, but if you want to change anything, let us know. In the next episode, we'll be reviewing how our teams performed at Vegas and diving into the rest of the round 1 team lists next Tuesday, talking about all the fantasy relevant news in the run home to the start of the full season. Don't forget about our limited preseason offer on our premium. The link is in the episode description. And with that, we'll see you all in the next one.